Welcome back to Small Caps. My name is Kerry Stevenson, and with me today is George Karageorge. He's the MD and CEO of Argent Minerals. ASX code is ARD. Write that one down, ladies and gentlemen. We've got lots to talk about today. George, good to see you. Welcome back to Small Caps.
Kerry, how are you?
I'm awesome, but
great to be back.
It's always good to see your face. I want you just to give us a quick overview of who are Argent Minerals before we drill down into the projects themselves.
So, look, we're a $50 million company that spent almost $50 million on the ground in New South Wales since 2007 when the company was listed, principally on the Kempfield silver resource, which was traditionally a copper mine and a gold mine in the 1850s. We've really had a good time in launching a 7,500 metre drilling program, which we commenced in June last year. We've continued now. We're drilling successfully from Kempfield, West Wyalong, a diamond hole at West Wyalong earlier this year. Continued with our Pine Ridge program, which commenced a little late, but that's the weather. And now we're 3/4 of the way through that program and then heading back to Kempfield in mid-June. So, Kerry, our plan has been that we commenced drilling later last year. We had to stop. We commenced the beginning of this year and drilled at West Wyalong, and now Pine Ridge, straight back to Kempfield with another 5,000 to 10,000 metres. It's looking pretty good. We will continue drilling right through the year, weather permitting.
Well, I must say, shareholders always like to hear that companies are doing drilling, because how do you find stuff? You've got to put the drill bit into the ground. Let me just drill down a bit into that.
Yes.
Excuse
okay.
the pun. Let's start with George, let's start with West Wyalong. What are you doing out at West Wyalong, and why do you think investors need to really take a look at that at the moment?
Look, a lot of people have been looking at West Wyalong and not understanding why we didn't drill any holes since 2018. So we threw money at our modelling. We got an inversion model. We submitted the model to the New South Wales regulator, and they gave us $200,000. So we tried to drill it in November. Unsuccessfully, no drill rigs were available. We booked the rigs and we did deep hole RC. We drilled just under 1,200 metres in January, February, got wiped out with the rain in March, and then ordered a diamond hole in, and we stuck a 503 metre diamond hole, our first diamond hole at West Wyalong since 2018. The pre-collars were unfortunately lost with all the rain because the paddock was 1 metre underwater at one stage. We managed to get the diamond core retrieved. It's now sitting in a laboratory in Perth awaiting assay. So, these things take time with weather events. Obviously, COVID also had a shutdown in Perth twice, which also affected transport, laboratories, people working. So there's an 11-day shutdown in Perth, effectively, with COVID, which affected the laboratories. So we're coming out of that now. And consequently, we put an announcement out saying that we had a big chalco pyrite hit, about 280 metres down in our core. The core's been cut. The core is in the lab. The amount of sulfides, the brecciation, the orbitisation, all of these things that make the ingredients for a decent copper gold hit should be there. And we're really looking forward to getting the results from that first diamond hole. We will receive $150,000 from the government, New South Wales, for that drilling program, plus an additional $50,000 when we go back and drill the hole, the second hole, which is a target hole that we've really put a lot of work into with our modelling, and that'll happen in probably November, because there's a crop in the ground now. If we can drill it in June, July, or August, we will. But there is a crop in the ground. We have to respect the farmer. Go back in November, get that hole done, use the grant money up, and then probably put another hole in next to that hole, which will give us the cross strike feature that we're looking for.
Now, you said you've done no drilling since 2018. Was prior to that, how much drilling has been done? Is this a very underexplored area, West Wyalong?
Look, we're surrounded by FMG and Sandfire, and Freeport, McMorran to the north of us. Now, of course, Freeport have sold out to Newmont, we believe, or I believe it's Newmont. I think it's been in the press, but we're surrounded by the majors. Everyone really likes that project. It is copper gold. It is pretty sexy, I've got to say, because you've got the majors that are spending a lot of money, and they've been caught with us. I mean, FMG closed down everything in New South Wales with COVID. They're back to work now, we believe. You're under crop. You're on the flat part of the Lachlan Fold Belt. It's the furthest western part of the Lachlan Fold Belt. So therefore, it's good drilling. It's easy drilling. If it doesn't rain and you do it in between the planting of crops, depending what crops they are, you can get and drill between October and March. So that window of about 6 months gives you that opportunity to work. Of course, the flooding events in November and in the wettest rains for 36 years in November last year, and of course COVID, and then of course we had the March rains, which were once in a 100-year storm. So those things affect what you do and how you do it, but you can't give up. You just got to keep plugging away, and you do get caught. You do get frustrated. It does cost you money. All of my guys said this is outrageous. 2 rain events, 5 months apart. And I said, yes, but the government's given us the money. It's going to be expensive. It's going to hurt, but we're going to continue. Our guys were working in a foot of water at some stage to get the core onto the trucks and get them to our processing facility at Kempfield. You've got to take your hat off to people when they do that, but that's what makes a company or a company maker, and that's what we continue to focus
And George,
on.
just before I move on to Pine Ridge, because I think that's pretty exciting as well, you are in the Lachlan Fold. There's a lot of interest in that area at the moment. So do you think with West Wyalong, I know you don't know what you've got, but you've been in this industry for quite some time. Do you feel quite confident that your particular area, with the chalcopyrite hit that you've had so far, all indications are that there's got to be something there? I mean, share us your view.
Look, absolutely. Look, that's a good point, because we have done a 12-month study into the geophysics over all of our tenements. Now, when it comes to West Wyalong, the AIG, the New South Wales Department of Geology and Geosciences, put out a 2020 October assessment of what they thought the structures that control copper and gold mineralisation across the volcanic belts over West Wyalong, just to the north of the town of Temora. There were 200 unanswered questions from a panel of geoscientists that have spent years researching all the geophysics, all the geochemistry, all of the petrography, all the petrology, all the lithology. We've done our own assessment. We're working through it. We believe that our modelling is good, but can be improved, and we believe that there's a gold-copper hit at depth, because our friends from FMG, Sandfire and Freeport McMoran would not be doing what we're doing. So we're the piggy in the middle, and we're not going to give up. We're going to keep fighting to get what we think is a significant resource at West Wyalong.
All righty. We've got lots to get through today. There's lots more to talk about at West Wyalong. Yep. Just finish off with letting us know when you think some results from around West Wyalong will be around.
I think they'll be later in June. Everyone knows that the labs are completely and utterly bogged down with all the issues that they've had with COVID, manpower, sample prep, transport, it goes on and on. But also producing mines. Producing mines are taking up laboratory space. Explorers and junior explorers particularly come second, because, it's just the power of the checkbook.
Absolutely.
It'll be very soon, Kerry, and that's why we're using a West Australian laboratory, because there's a lot more labs in WA, and so we're transporting everything from New South Wales to Western Australia just to speed it up by 3 or 4 weeks.
I was going to ask you why you were sending it over there. Thank you for letting me know about that. That's great. George, let's go on to Pine Ridge Gold Mine. Now, that is a historical gold mine. You're drilling into the old pit there. You've started some RC drilling. As you said at the start of this interview, it's all about the drilling. Where do you find gold and copper, ladies and gentlemen? Where it's been found before. So tell us about Pine Ridge. It's a pretty exciting area.
It is exciting because the beauty about RC is, you know, you don't stop working. You know, the rig runs and it doesn't stop. And if it does stop, you're either putting fuel in it or you're going to have a beer and a barbecue and then go back the next day and do it all over again. And it's noisy and it's dusty and it's good fun. Diamond's boring, but RC's not because, you know, you get to move the holes very quickly. What we've done is we've got 5 pads. We've got our modelling in place. We've got low angle and high angle drilling. We're drilling above the old pit that Rimfire operated until 1984. We're trying to duplicate the results that they had. We put an announcement out to the market 2 weeks ago saying that we started drilling, and we put some of the information in there that is a simple read with bullet points and a few photos to show exactly what we're doing and what we're targeting in relation to the old drilling, the old production numbers that have been revealed in that announcement as well. Because, you know, you've got a prize that's sitting underground. You've just got to intersect it and then you've got to dig it up.
What were some of the old numbers there, George?
Look, they're quite exceptional. They were pulling out half ounce, 15 gram dirt. No implications of any metallurgical issues. It's free and coarse gold. There's pyrite and some gold in the laminations within the pyrite crystals in the basalt, but in the actual sediment and the structural targets that we're trying to hit, it's pretty akin to McPhillamys gold mine. So along the same strike, on the same structure. And you can see just up there, you can see this actual map here.
Yep.
That's where we are, and that's where McPhillamys are just there. And Kempfield sits in the middle. So I always look at that map that we've done in-house, and, you know, the 20 k's apart between Pine Ridge and McPhillamys gold mine, which Regis operates and about to put in production. So we're on the same structure. Kempfield also has the same fault going through the bottom of it, which we didn't know. And again, Pine Ridge, we've got a lot more geophysics to do at Pine Ridge and a lot more geochemistry to do at Pine Ridge. But the drilling program for the next stage and the following stage will be resource and on a 20 by 20 metre drill out. So if we get the anticipated results on this round of drilling, the next round of drilling will be on a 2020, let's drill it out.
1984, it was owned by Rimfire. Did they walk away from it? I mean, how did you get your hands on it? And
yeah, so Rimfire had it for about 10 years, and they did some work. And 94, they pulled out because the gold price was $380 an ounce.
Right.
And of course, you know, most miners by 92 were either from oxide into sulfide, and they got out of the business. As soon as the transition zone was eaten up, their mills couldn't handle it, and reagents, we couldn't crush it, you couldn't mill it, you couldn't get the gold out of it. Now, Western Australia had so many plants that were put into care and maintenance for a long time, even 10 years. Exactly what Rimfire, they couldn't get to the development stage to go and process the gold, so they stopped. And it's just one of those things. You know, the most exciting time about having a high commodity price is how quickly you accelerate your exploration to get into development.
Yep. Yep.
So you've got to gauge your projects and you've got to say, what do we do first? Well, an explorer has to get a resource. Kempfield, for instance, you know, 100 million ounce equivalent silver deposit. What are we going to do next? Well, we've got to go and get a reserve. We've already got a JORC compliant situation at Kempfield. You can only improve on that JORC compliance. You've got resource geologists working on that right now. But, you know, when you look at Pine Ridge and Kempfield, they sit on the same structure. Our geophysical work identified another fault that we never knew and it's not been drilled. At the same time, we thought, well, let's put the geochemistry over the top of this fault that we found. And consequently, we found a copper anomaly that was associated with a barite, right, which is running at 70% barite, the historical barite that may or may not be in the public domain. We found it in the public domain, but whether people know about it from the public domain is that it's running at 70%. Now, most barite deposits in the world carry silver.
Right. What is barite deposit? Just explain that. So
barite is barium sulfate. Now, barium sulfate is what you use for X-rays.
Yep.
And drilling mud, right?
Ah.
Now, the reason that drilling mud is so important at the moment is because with hydrogen and helium exploration in the US and soon in Australia, you're drilling a big hole. Now, you need to drill it very deep, up to 4 kilometres deep. Now, when you're drilling an oil or gas hole, you need a lot of drilling mud. When you're drilling a hydrogen and helium hole, you need even a bigger hole and more mud.
Yeah.
There is a blue between drilling mud supply from China to America. So the US may need drilling mud from Australia. Kempfield, our deposit, is regarded to be the richest and the biggest barite deposit in Australia. So,
I always thought Kempfield was silver.
So barite, silver, lead, zinc are deposits that occur together.
Got it.
Right?
Yep.
And the amount of silver that's there is only because of the amount of barite that's there. So it's quite a change in the guard. Barite prices are going up. As long as they've got low mercury in them, they're quite advantageous, and I think they're going to become very highly sought if Australia starts requiring more drilling mud. And of course, Kempfield was a production mine for barite for Shell. Now, Shell, of course, were looking for oil and gas in Australia. So where do they get the drilling mud from? Kempfield.
But it has that hasn't. That's all stopped for now. Can you start that up fairly quickly?
Yeah. So it stopped in about 82.
Yep.
It stopped mining in 82. So between 77 and 82, a lot of barite came out of Kempfield, and the pits are still there. They're really quite pretty open pits because they're small but deep. And the way that Shell mined them, the way that Shell did things, like, a piece of steel with their drilling hole on it and all of their pit names on it. And, mining companies today don't go and get a piece of steel and go and weld on the name of the mine and the name of the drill hole and everything else. So we found some of that stuff, and it gives you some heritage, and you expand on that.
But you've been out at Kempfield for quite some time now, haven't you? I want to know, from an investor's point of view, are you going to keep drilling? Are you going to start into a development phase? What's your plan for Kempfield?
So, Kerry, it's got a concession and it's got an export license from the New South Wales government that will allow it to put it into production.
Yeah.
So our vision is to keep drilling, to keep expanding the resource because it's open. And if you look at our January quarterly, or what we published in January, end of January, it shows the hotspots with the magnetics. And it just so happens I've got the report right next to me. And if you look at the mag on the front of this report's really quite thick, but there's 5 hotspots there that have bullseye targets on them from geophysics and geochemistry that require drilling. So our drilling program is to target these hotspots and what we found in the Kempfield fault. The Kempfield fault hangs off the Godolphin fault, which the McPhillamys gold mine hangs off, and Kempfield hangs off. But the copper can't be answered for. We don't know why it was a copper mine, but we can't find the copper. We think we've found the copper to the south of Kempfield within our project area, and we think we found it to the west. And what we're going to do now is drill it. And the hotspots are sitting there, the bullseye targets are sitting there, the fault has been identified but has not been drilled. The copper anomaly, that looks very good, has not been drilled. But the barite averages around 50% concentration. Where the copper is, which has not been drilled, is running at 70%.
Wow.
So that means at depth there could be a lot of silver, a lot of gold, a lot of copper that we don't know about. So it could be another lode that adds to the existing lodes that we have.
Okay, so what's your time frame for that, George?
We're just going to keep drilling Kempfield forever. Put it this way, while we've got money, we will increase that resource. We'll have an RC rig there going a first pass target of shallow drilling, and then we'll back it up with diamond drilling. It'll take a year. We'll be drilling Kempfield for a year. So once we start in August, September, there'll be a rig working on and off as RC and being infilled with a diamond rig.
Okay, so why should investors get interested in Kempfield? Lots of drilling going on. Tell me why you think investors need to be...
Yeah, well, I think the hero metals are going to be copper, zinc, and maybe silver. And I think if we find the copper or some copper, We've still got 200,000 ounces of gold. Now, 100 million ounces of silver with a copper signature tells you straight away, you know, this is a big resource that, okay, it's been drilled, Kerry, and you can see the 620 drill holes, but see where the drill holes are. They're concentrated on a very small pit shell of up to 3 or 4 small pits, 20-year mine life. Well, what if it's got a 30-year mine life, but it's a polymetallic with copper, lead, zinc? What if barite is a byproduct? If barite's a byproduct,
So what you're saying is you got to understand it a lot more, because you could be missing out. You could be turning around to investors and saying, whoops, sorry, we're missing out on the upside because we went too early, so to speak.
Yes, and we've gone from resource geologists to resource geologists. Well, at the moment, the most sought after people in the world, aside from maybe the US president and maybe Li Jinping in China, resource geologists. So we've got a resource geologist having another look at it now. The resource geologists that did all the modelling in 2018 and got us this 100 million ounce zinc equivalent, and the copper credit, and the gold equivalent, and the zinc equivalent, all well and good. But he said, you better infill here, here, and here. What we did, though, was we went a bit further and said, well, we kind of don't understand why the barite's where it's at and why the polymetallic and the copper is associated. So we went to the geochem, we had to go back to the geophysics. We finished the geophysics and went back to the geochem. Lo and behold, the copper's way south of the resource area or project area, and similarly way west. And the Kempfield fault was identified, and you can see it right here. I mean, the picture tells 1,000 words. I don't want to say anything, but see those little red dots?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to drill next. There's no drilling over those red dots.
All right.
So what have we done wrong? The other thing is Trunky Creek, which is a town, is a gold mine, very rich gold mine. To the north of it is Mount Dudley. Now, tenements go over the town and the Mount Dudley gold deposit. Now, we believe we've got 20,000 ounces there, but we've only done a few holes. We didn't do them, someone else did. The actual structural geology has not been spoken for. It sits on the Godolphin Fault. Is it a splay off the Godolphin Fault like Pine Ridge gold mine? We know there's a series of gold mines. We know they're in production for over 100 years. But what we don't know is, what is the modern exploration that's been done over these things? There hasn't been any.
So if
not been done.
If you were to do a focus, and we've still got to get to Tassie and to Minrex, which I really do, we're running out of time. Just quickly, if you were to say to me, we're doing equal amounts of drilling on Pine Ridge, West Wyalong, and Kempfield, would that be about right? Are you putting the same emphasis on all three, or is one exciting you over the others?
That's a good question, Kerry, because as long as we can drill holes, we'll find something. All the mumbo jumbo in the world is great. There's reports everywhere in here. My office is getting really dirty and messy. But what I have done is I've got a fresh set of eyes. I've got another new director coming in for technical support, and I'm using the CEO of Minrex for technical support. Okay. So 2 very accomplished lock and fold belt experts that are coming to help us with what we're doing and what Minrex are doing. So we've combined 2 more geologists that are a successful company, and a very good copper gold expert. So we're bringing these 2 gentlemen in. We can't release their names for obvious reasons. They have been engaged, and they are in non-executive, and one's the CEO of Minrex. His name's Pedro Castellanos. He has been announced to the market, but he's also going to have a good look at what we're doing, and he's going to bring people in as part of my team and his team for Minrex and Argent to evaluate our assets and to get on the ground and continually drill.
But George, hold on a second. Talk to me about the collaboration between Minrex and Argent. How does that work?
So Argent originally owned the Sunny Corner silver mine, Australia, one of the richest silver mines in the Southern Hemisphere, the richest silver mine in Australia. The previous board of Argent sold it to a private company. We went back and said, well, look, we want it back. And they said, well, you know, why? We're going to pay you. So we don't want the money. So what we did was we said, look, you have the rehabilitation area, and we'll take all the exploration rights around the old Sunny Corner mine. Now, it's got the Nevada copper mine. It's got the a number of silver deposits around it. And you're talking massive silver, copper of 1.5%, 2%, gold 1.5 grams, zinc 10%, lead 5%.
Okay.
So we couldn't grab it, so we gave it and formed a company called Minrex. Minrex needed some assets, so we said, look, come over here. We'll take a strategic position in your company. We've got 80 million shares out of 500 million shares in Minrex. So we've got about 20% of the company. And we're working with them together to explore the Lock and Fold Belt on a side-by-side volcanic belt situation. So the footprint's big. Sunny Corner is a strategic and very clever polymetallic gold opportunity and silver mine all in one. So there's more ground that Minrex have got. And the beauty is you've got a drill rig that goes for Minrex and does some work, then comes back to Argent and does some work, goes back to Minrex and does some work, goes back to Argent and does some work. You're talking about 30,000 metres of drilling, Kerry, and it's going to be split between the two companies for the next year. We're drilling now under that situation. And the beauty is it helps us develop Kempfield. It lets a fresh pair of eyes with two new directors looking at things and working out is what you got to do.
Yeah, and you've got a good percentage in Minrex as well. So there's some upside.
Yeah, and then Tassie adds another part of the paradigm, because Northwest Tasmania, with what MMG's kind of trying to do down there, and what the Tasmanian government is trying to do down there by giving out money, $15 million worth of grants, to make things happen and to develop operating mines. We are next to the Roseberry mine and the other side next to the Mount Lyell mine. So our tenements are strategic. They're sought after. We've done a geophysical review over Tassie. We're very excited with what we've found. We've taken all the years of work during COVID and put them together and worked out, well, hang on, our Mount Farrell deposit is really, really important. It's got a massive potential and anomalous geochemistry and geophysics that people would love to have. We have to do some work on it now.
Yeah. So what work are you doing next? What's up next? You've done.
We're going to do some review. Yeah, we're going to do a induced polarization survey in March next year, February or March next year. It's $100,000 worth of work. We've done all the targeting. There is a historical drill hole that we're working on at the moment to see exactly how much mineralisation is in it. You've got to remember, we're on the Henty Fault, and the Henty Fault has massive amounts of gold and polymetallic production mines, small ones and big ones. And, MMG is a big company. Renison was a really big company. The Pye gold mine or the Henty gold mine it's right next to us, right? Yeah. So we've got this ground, and now we're going to do something with it. So that's why I've brought in two new people to help. Both geologists, both accomplished careers.
Yeah, you're certainly very, very busy. What I want to know now, our investors out there want to know it as well. George, what's going to be the catalyst for Argent Minerals to increase that share price, to give some value? What do you think the catalyst will be in the near future?
Kerry, it's in-ground results. Now, the desktop work during COVID, some drilling that we did, geochemistry that we did. We had 3 geos working on this stuff, looking at it, reviewing it. We brought in consultants externally. We brought in geophysicists externally. We reviewed over $45 million worth of work in 1 year. We're not finished, but we continue that drive of learning. Then we go and drill holes in the ground, right? We're very lucky. We've got some great shareholders that are supporting this company and spent, and allow us to spend $45 million. My ambition is to have a share price which is at $100 million company. Now, we hit 9.5 cents in February when the silver price went to almost $30. We're not far from $30, so we're undervalued by probably 50%. We've got $4 million worth of cash. We will do more cap raises. We do have people knocking on the door. We've got majors knocking on the door for Kempfield. We've got majors knocking on the door at Loch Lilly that like the fact that we've got a whole belt, right? Yeah. Down near Broken Hill. So people like us, if Pine Ridge comes up trump now with the drilling that we've done, which is the second round of drilling, the third round of drilling is only a shadow away, because you've got to remember, we've done the work geophysically and geochemically to work out what we're going to do after we've done this pass of drilling. So with the with the grace of God and a bit of luck, you know, we are going to go harder at more drilling, continuous drilling, but, you know, develop Kempfield and take to a point where we either bring in a partner or we sell part of it and pick up a big royalty check. We don't know. But, you know, silver, if it does go to $35, the project economics on Kempfield are that it needs $30 US. And it's away. Yeah. The metallurgy has been done. The water bores are in. The haul road's in. The power's in. The fly camp's there. 620 drill holes. We'll put another 50 holes in the next 6 to 12 months, which means that, you know, these anomalies that and these faults that we've found are the key to the next part of the story at Kempfield. If the commodity price stays where it's at and you're drilling holes and you've got news flow, we're a 15-cent company.
Yeah, and you're not there yet.
Because and that's $150 million.
Yeah.
And you know, this is where bigger companies say, well, polymetallics are the most sought after projects right now. We've probably got the best one. I mean, in ranking of silver mines, we're in the top 5, if not in the top 3. So someone's going to want it. Now, if they want it, that's fine. But we're going to keep drilling it as part of a JV or a farming, and we'll get more money for it. And if they can put it into production faster than we can, good luck, we'll pick up a royalty. We'll continue to work at Trunky Creek, Mount Dudley, Pine Ridge Gold Mine. The Loch Lilly project is regarded by people like Tony Crawford, right? Professor Tony Crawford, who's working for Alkane and MMG and others, as being, you know, significant as a untested volcanic belt that is akin to any polymetallic opportunity in the world. And it's big, and we've got it. And so we're going to spend some money there. And when geoscientists tell me your best project's Loch Lilly, I'm going, well, hang on, it's right down the back somewhere of our workload, and we haven't drilled a hole in it ever. But our geophysics is telling us where to drill. We'll be putting a hole in September, October at the end of this year on diamond, because it's a deep diamond hole we have to drill. We've got money from the government to drill that hole. But the most important thing is a lot of very, very clever people are telling us that's the jewel in your crown. And I'm going, I can't see it, but I'm going to drill it. And that's the key, drill. Just drill.
Yep. George Karageorge doing the drilling where it's meant to go. And there's a lot of news coming out of Argent Minerals. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said right at the start, it's ASX code, excuse me, ARD. What's going on with you? And we'll look forward to the news flow coming forward. Any last comments for our investors out there?
The gold nugget that's around your neck, Kerry, is what we're actually drilling. So wait and see the results.
Good to chat to you on Small Caps today.
Thank you.
Talk to you again
Much
soon.
appreciated. Have a great day.